So to kick off, we're joined by two people from Admiral. We've got Rob Harper, who's the head of claims, business operations, and we've got Neil Davies, who's the automation strategic manager. And they're going to start sharing with us their journey over the last 5 years. I'm going to ask Rob to do a bit of introduction and give us an overview of Admiral as well, because I certainly won't do it much justice. So Rob, would you like to frame Admiral for us and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, no problem at all. Absolute pleasure to be here today. I'm Rob Harper. I'm Head of Business Support within Admiral Group. So I've been in Admiral Group for 5.5 years. So pretty much my entire tenure has sort of coincided with us looking at RPA and setting up the partnership as we have with UiPath. Admiral is a well-known insurance entity, of course, in the UK. It's the largest personal lines insurer in the UK. We've achieved that whilst only trading for 27.5 years thereabouts. Best part of it's north of 4.5 million motor customers these days, as well as a growing household book. We have a directly underwritten van product, and as I said, we're looking to continue our product diversification in the future as well. We also have an international presence. We have an underwriting insurance business in the US, France, Italy, and Spain as well. So that's Admiral. That's who we are, what we've done. And so we've achieved that exponential growth over a relatively short period of time, and obviously now have strong market share in certainly UK motor.
Great, thank you, Rob. Neil, would you like to say hello?
I will, yes. Hello, my name's Neil Davies. I'm the Strategic Automation Manager. So I rejoined Admiral a little over 5 years ago with the job title of look at robots and tell us what they can do, which is probably the most exciting job title I've ever had, to be honest. I'd never heard of robots before, so very quickly came in and evaluated the different options out there and got up and running. So that's me. Great,
thank you, Neil. So I know Neil a while as well. We started the insurance user group back in, what was it, 17, I think it was, when we were all trying to figure out what we were doing. Neil, when there wasn't any playbooks, there wasn't any lovely use cases knocking around, and we were all looking at each other. What are we going to do with this amazing technology?
Right.
So can't believe it's 5 years. That's gone pretty snappy. According to Forrester, we're actually part of the digital elite, that we're actually so deep into this technology. Now that surprises me. I would have never thought I was part of it. I was looking around going, who? And they were on all of you, because you're looking at enabling technology, because we're supposed at the start of it, started the journey, as you said, on RPA, where you guys jumped in 2016. So it sort of from my experience, most people join these sessions to hear, the good, the bad, the ugly, the real lessons learned, down to the detail. So can you start off, Rob, with sharing the Admiral story on your automation journey, the highlights, a bit of lessons learned, and really your success story that's there?
Yeah, sure, no problem at all. And Admiral, its absolute core part of our DNA is test and learn. That's underpins our culture and our being. And Neil's absolutely right. It was over 5 years ago in a management meeting somewhere at Admiral Towers. We first started talking about, well, there's this new technology, robots. We probably need to be looking at this and doing something about it. Not really having a huge understanding in terms of what it is, what it could do. We were already talking to Neil about coming home, and it seemed like the obvious thing to pass to somebody of Neil's capabilities to explore on our behalf. So it really was born out of, we understood that the technology was starting to grow. We understood actually the high level potential with it. We looked at our own processes. We looked at our own system that we were transacting claims on, with our sort of policy and admin systems having recently re-platformed. We were working to an end-of-life system, and we thought to ourselves, well, there must be potential in this, and it'd be remiss of us not to look at it when we did. And that's really how it was born. It was born out of a project in a traditional sense, with a project manager, aka Neil, scoping out the opportunities that we think that we could then apply to our business, and as I said, with our processes within that, with also, you know, through I suppose the context of looking at how we can continue to grow, and obviously the businesses continue to grow at a top line level, and therefore do more, but not necessarily have to continually, you know, recruit staff to deal with and cater for that continued growth. So I suppose what we're saying is, could this type of technology be implanted into the business to create some level of efficiency for us, that allows us then to maybe strip out some of those processes that was, you know, fairly repetitive, and as I said, you know, as a result of that, you know, both embed and embrace the technology itself, but also, as I said, not necessarily have to continually recruit people to do more of that as we handle more claims and wrote more policies. So that was really, as I said, the genesis. And then Neil, you know, took it on and run from that. The first bit was, well, who's out there? Who does this? You know, and selecting the right partner. And obviously, you know, we started to engage with yourselves. The rest is history. Here we are, fast forward 5 years. But that was obviously a really, really important part. Choosing the right partner. We were, you know, one of the first, not the first, but one of the first UK customers for UiPath, and I think, you know, we clicked instantly when we actually started to engage. It's really important for us at Admiral, given the way that we work, to choose the right partner that we actually felt that we could develop a strategic partnership with over time. So as we start to get to understand what RPA could do for us, throw lots of ideas and silly questions along the way, which is the way that we work, that we had a partner that was able to support that, to listen to us as we were sort of embarking on our journey, and of course provide that technical know-how to allow us and enable us to get stuff done. So that was it in a nutshell. I wish it was sort of more sensational than that. It was a meeting. It was a project that we put on our sort of change map. We had a project manager lined up, and you know, we chose the right partner. We then started to invest some resource into looking at some processes that we felt were prime for this. And for me, it was about runs on the board. As soon as you're in a position where you actually start to see where this is then starting to drive some business benefit, that just continues to grow and grow and grow. And then we start to think creatively with regards to how we can apply that to yet more processes. How can we go beyond what was originally a claims product and project, and actually then engage with the wider business and start to educate them in terms of, well, look, we're doing this, it works really well for us. You must have processes in your part of the business that will be in scope, and that's really been the journey over the 5 years. Look at where we are now.
Yeah, great. Rob, you make some really good points there, especially about the driver, about freeing up certainly cost, time, effort, people for growth plans, where people can see they've got significant growth plans over the next few years, but they don't want the cost line to go up with it. So can they actually use their current workforce and get more capacity out of them? So we find in insurance, that's one of the big drivers to support. Automation is supporting that growth drive. And obviously 5 years on, with over 500,000 hours saved, it's obviously proven technology. So we've come a long way, and as you said, together in the last 5 years, have this technology that can go on your initial areas pretty much to across the board, and not just core processes, but I think corporate functions as well, IT, HR, finance, all of those. So once, as you say, people see the runs on the board, they very much get much more engaged.
They do. I think that's true, and that's certainly been our experience as well. And if we relate this back to insurance businesses, pretty much all insurance businesses deal with large data sets that they have to sort of knit together in their businesses. They deal with multiple systems, whether they be both internal systems, but also sort of integrating external systems as well. There's a lot of copy and paste. There's a lot of repetitive information. There's a lot of payment processing. All of those sorts of things, when you actually start to look at them and break them down, are really, really primed for automation. And that's essentially what we did. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but that's essentially what we did. Process by process, we started then to create a pipeline for ourselves, to look at those things that are absolutely in scope for us, and then, as I said, deliver them over time. And insurance businesses are no doubt, if they're not already this far ahead, have started that journey. Maybe some haven't. Will have processes that exist in their business in this way, and as I say, it is primed for automation. And it's about creating that balance between ensuring that there is that the authentic intelligence, i.e. the human beings, are focusing on the right things. That's really, really important, and it was always a key driver for us. We didn't want really technically skilled claims handlers in our business spending time processing supplier payments. We could actually get a robot to do that really effectively, really quickly. So it actually meant that we probably improved our payment times to our suppliers as well, which is actually a good thing for them as well. So we could, as I said, ensure that both the authentic intelligence, the artificial intelligence coexisted to drive better business outcomes. That was, again, one of the key drivers for us.
Great. Let's move on to talk about strategy, because automation is mentioned in your annual report. And reading a sort of Reuters article recently, I get to read loads of stuff, and it talks about particular insurance companies are going to need a modern stack of technology to be agile, to be cost effective, to move at pace that we're doing it. So from a strategy point of view, is automation linked, and is that important, Rob, that it is linked?
It is for us, and it's become a core component of that technology stack. Absolutely, but also in its most simplistic terms for an insurer. I mean, at its core in terms of strategy, must be absolutely to drive value through its combined ratio, and actually automation plays a role in doing both of those things, improving a loss ratio and absolutely improving the expense ratio. So it for sure links at a strategic level, at that top level. And you are right, we've made reference to automation in annual reports previously, as we started to celebrate the success of what automation had really delivered for us, and how that in itself had really fueled our ongoing competitive advantage from an expense ratio and therefore a combined ratio level. So that's a really good news for us. And the more we find, the more we can develop, the more we can put into that, the more benefit over time that we continue to deliver. So that's really good for us. And then at a more localized level, automation is a big part of strategies across the business. And it's been 5 years in claims, and it is featured absolutely within our strategy for quite some time in terms of how we can use automation to work with both our workforce, our human beings, as I've already touched on, and actually start to deal with some challenges that we get from a technology perspective. Whether, as I said, that's linking together systems, whether that's actually making the job just easier for our handlers on a day-to-day basis. And that's really a big driver for us in the future as we look at moving the focus solely from unintended robots, which still have a big part to play for us, to attended robots, where the user actually interacts with the robot to undertake some tasks to make their job easier as well. So all of those things, absolutely link into our strategy at various levels in the group.
That's great. There's one bit that particularly interests me, and I think some of the audience would be interested in hearing this as well. You guys did a re-platforming recently, and automation still complemented that, because some people think it's all about the legacy. It's all about trying to get interfaces that there's no APIs, or it's moving around clunky stuff, getting the right information to the right person. but actually you've taken an approach where actually it's good with the new and the old, because you probably need data from both.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. And the reason, if we're really honest, the reason that automation started life in claims was, as I said, because we were working with that end of life system with other parts of the business. Policy and admin had already replatformed onto a new shiny system. So we definitely have gone through that journey ourselves, which is, automation is great for that end of life legacy, and that's where you focus it. To actually no, it goes beyond that, and it can actually complement a new technology as well. And as we've over time replatformed, or in the midst of replatforming within the claims business as well onto a new technology platform, we've really understood the value of where automation again can complement, can coexist, and can still deal with some decent size sort of business challenges for us, and just smooth things, just make that all so much easier for us as well. And I mean, ultimately, it avoids putting resource and human resource into processes where if we didn't use automation in that way, we would have to. Automation, as I said, removes the need in such respect. And things like, even with a new technology platform, you still need to, in the claims business, process thousands and thousands of payments. Well, again, it's prime for automation, and we're still processing claims and digital claims and notifications and claim forms, and piecing that back into the system, and all sorts of other things that actually, automation is really enabling us as we've replatformed onto our new system. So yeah, it's very much at the forefront of our thing, whilst we were sort of building out, scoping the new system design in terms of how far that system could take us. And then thinking about, right, do we have an automation solution to, I suppose, avoid some development time and resource that actually might be best used elsewhere, that actually the system doesn't take it that far, but automation can, and that's great, and that's an enabler for us. And then I suppose once we've exhausted those opportunities and options, then look at, well, actually, is this something that actually we need to put some human resource into? So we've gone through that staging, if you like, as we sort of built out the spec for the new system. So the point being, automation was very much at the heart of our thinking right the way through that.
You make another really good point there, because we're finding our customers, particularly around Guidewire, that they're actually looking at their backlog of change requests and actually giving them a bit of an airing. And there's some change requests on there for months and months. And they're saying, can automation actually do this quicker, better, faster? And some of those core systems were not meant to hold a lot of data. They weren't. They're systems of record. They do a particular job. They certainly weren't designed to hold a lot of information about profiling customers, all of that. So we're certainly, as you say, when you're looking at the change and you look at the improvements, maybe you're looking at the different technology options, which is, where do you spend your dev time? Where do you spend your improvement money? It gets really important then.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's our experience. And the answer to the question is, without actually looking at that full list, there is very probably an automation solution that could be looked at in terms of a backlog of change, and actually things that could be spun up relatively quickly. And that is another beauty of this as well. You get the right people on things, you can actually address these sorts of business challenges really, really quickly. In fact, I had an example come across my desk yesterday, where we've been battling with a business problem for quite some time. That was actually going to have a fairly material commercial impact to us, a big six-figure sum, as we had to we were looking at building in a belt and braces business process that we had to do to avoid a much bigger risk exposure elsewhere. And it took a couple of very, very clever people yesterday to get their heads together to think, actually, there's probably an automation solution which allows us to pick a piece of information here, drop it into a supplier instruction there, that sends it across there, that actually mitigates that risk entirely, and means that actually we don't have to pick up that that commercial exposure that I talked about there, which is a high six-figure sum. And that was clever people getting together, understanding the problem, and then applying an automation solution to that problem very, very quickly. And of course, we need to do a bit of work to understand that better, understand the dev time, understand where that sits on our sort of priority list right now. But there is an automation solution. I'm really, really confident of that. And that's a business problem we've been probably batting around amongst ourselves now for a few weeks. But we got the right people in, boom, it was done. And again, I think if any business of our nature, of our ilk, were to look at their backlog of change right now and getting the right people involved in that, I think they'll probably find that there's an automation solution for quite a few, actually.
Great. Well, it's great to hear your sort of test and learn culture is obviously getting you very far down the road, because when you have that culture and that mentality, you do look at the options and you do look at how can we do this fast, bring the right people together, deploy something really quickly. We're not known for that in insurance completely, but we do see the customers who have that culture, who have that mentality, are moving very, very quickly. I'm going to move on to, you mentioned sort of attended automation. Most insurance companies started with unattended, the back office stuff, and we're seeing a real surge in front office, attended automation on demand. I like to say it's on demand, I'm not technical. So actually I can instigate a bot that's working with me to do some of those tasks for me. We've been looking at it by persona across all different personas. Could we give people a digital assistant to do some of that repetitive work you talk about, Rob? The copy and pasting, the collating of data, extracting stuff out of it, filing it, all that stuff we know happens across all our customer journeys in insurance and thousands of times a day. So you guys have taken that to even the next step around sort of citizen-led development, where actually you're promoting the democratization of this technology. And I noticed as well in your sort of role profiles that you're advertising, you want to give people these career developments. You want to give them the modern tools out sort of, as we say, bottom-up approach. Could you tell us a bit about your citizen-led program?
Yeah. I mean, I'll touch on both if you don't mind, because that for us was absolutely the next sort of iteration and the natural logical evolution for us as we said, moved our sole focus away from unattended robots, then initially into attended robots. And we've had some success there in some of the operational areas that. We've got some great use cases of areas that I think if you'd said to them, we're going to give you access to a digital assistant, they probably wouldn't have understood what that actually meant to them until they actually start using it alongside doing the job, and then really got the value. And actually, there is a business area that we've used that within claims actually that absolutely love it, because it strips out the mundane, it as I said, removes the copy and paste, of which there was a lot, into multiple places, multiple systems. And as I said, the digital assistant is doing all of that for them, and really, really effectively, and of course correctly every time as well, because if human beings continue to do something, and certainly on a repetitive basis, they're prone to make mistakes. Well, the robot itself is not going to do that. So we've got we've got really, really good positive use cases now that on the attended side that we've really now started to sort of promote across the business. And from a citizen-led perspective, I mean, that was also another driver for us. Tightly controlled. Obviously, we've wrapped good governance around that. But actually, where we don't want to get to a stage, I guess, for us where we developed the technology, we had great success. We internally had published that. We'd given the wider business access to the team and the technology, but then for us to be almost swamped by requests and actually then have to go through a really extensive prioritization sort of program, which meant that actually we get ourselves to a place where maybe things don't get as done as quickly as you would like. So sort of devolving some of that into the operational areas to say, well, look, there is an ability for you to develop some citizen-led sort of low-code process technology, and as a result of that, you can spin things up quicker. Essentially, you can do things. And again, we've had good success of doing that, and certainly the operations side of our business have really embraced that. And again, we've had great success in terms of I know they've used a citizen-led approach to piece together sort of multiple data sets to create and enhance their MI reporting, for instance. So we're already getting those success stories in, and we're just doing more and more of that. And that's certainly a focus area for us moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hear that sort of feedback from communities, citizen-led communities, where getting the new skills, collaboration, accuracy, productivity, all those things, when people jump in, they actually start to go, this is actually really helping me. I mean, it'd be great if we all had a bit more life balance, and certainly some from working from home as well. So let's turn to some of those challenges that you're facing, that you're helping automation. How is automation helping with some of the challenges? I mentioned there sort of working from home. The whole world's changing around us. Is there some stuff that some big topic stuff around training, multi-skilled, working from home? Is that helping, Rob, to move people into this new era?
It has. It's helped us in a number of ways, I guess. The fact that actually we had established automation was clearly a help. The fact that actually it continued to run and operate whilst we were sort of transitioning people from working from the office to work at home. There was no real business interruption in terms of all the processes that were being run. That was really good for us. That was really good for us, because that meant that actually we didn't have to think about putting resource into these areas. So that created we think an advantage for us in that sense. And we've continued to look at what does work from home mean in terms of how we actually do that, how we deal and interact with our teams on a day-to-day basis, and look at automation solutions again to foster some of those things and those changes. And we've developed a few things as well, including chatbots that are sort of are improving some of our sort of HR processes as well. So we've introduced a few things that have helped that, and then sort of encouraged new ways of working and working from home. But as I said, it also allowed that transition when March 2020, the world was starting to shut down, that it could keep a lot alive, a lot running for us. That was extremely helpful at the time. And at that point, I think if we hadn't already thought to ourselves, goodness me, thank goodness we were so far along our automation journey. And as I said, all along, whilst we've been doing this, we've still been running the business, we've still been doing what we've had to do, and successfully working from home in this way. We've successfully replatformed our main base claim system whilst doing it in this way. And all the while, we've been doing exactly what I said earlier, which is actually developing more and more automation solutions to apply to our business processes. So we've work from home has certainly not slowed us down or hindered us in any way. And as I said, there's examples of where we've actually made working from home a little easier for people as a result of using automation.
Well, we're finding some customers are using the digital assistant for training as well, with scripts or with information about new products, and it comes to them in a timely manner. Because as you know, digital assistants can be in various modes. It can be in monitoring mode, so it can understand what you're doing and say, oh, here's a script for that, or here's the procedure. Do you think that's important going forward, as we expect people to do more and know more?
So much of what we do. So much of what we do is very heavily scripted, as we know, and so much of what we do is sometimes unique to that particular set of circumstances. So as a result of that, something that actually can produce a prompt, a flag to the agent to say, right, okay, because of this, and this, you might want to think about this. Is as I said, becomes incredibly helpful for the agent, and probably is as I said, going to foster better decisions, better business and customer outcomes, which is ultimately what we want all of this to achieve.
That's great, and it sounds like sort of tech and data are very much sort of plugged in there. We've got some great questions, Rob, and I think Neil is going to join us for these as well, so you can decide. I'm going to ask you the first question on here is about what's the biggest evolution in the technology capabilities that allowed you to grow the scope of automation in your organization? Now, I'm thinking that means, you know, the product set. One of the ones that I love that I think has allowed insurance is human in the loop action center, where you hand stuff off to a person. Rob, we've just been talking about it. I think that's huge. I know Neil has his favorite as well, sets of products in there. So would you guys like to mention?
Go on then. You've teed Neil up. Go on, Neil can dive in on this one then.
Yeah, apologies. The kids have just come home from school, so if you hear a dog going wild in the background, it's what's called perfect timing, I think. Yeah, my favorites are very much around the process identification, task mining, process mining. It's really clever technology. Everyone who's worked in projects has had to sit down with Visio or drawing boxes and all the rest of that. And the more detail and granularity about what is actually happening, as opposed to what we've trained people to do or what they tell us they do. You know, you can sit next to 2 or 3 people on the same team over 2 or 3 days, and you'll find they're all doing something differently. If this technology is going to give us that insight, then it's super exciting. I'm going to go on mute a sec.
There's a really good sort of point on the discovery sort of technology, Neil, that you said that we in insurance, as regulated business, we're supposed to have processes documented. We're supposed to have adequate systems and controls. We are finding some customers actually just doing that, not just for design and improvement, but actually they want to know what their processes are. Normally it's to find the friction in customer journeys, obviously. Where's the automation or redesign potential? But certainly just documenting them is really helpful. As you say, it's a quick way to do it. You don't have to sit there with your Visio and figuring out what you do and type it all up. It's proven to be quite powerful.
Task capture especially is being used around the business outside of automation, just for mapping that in a much more simple way, rather than getting into a room with a group of people with a whiteboard and, you know, 2 days later it's all changed anyway. So, you know, being able to automatically do this is really impressive, and something, if you think back 5 years ago when we had the unattended robots and that was pretty much it, yeah, I don't think any of us would have imagined that, to be fair.
Yeah, you're right. We've got another great question here. How do you ensure automation is not delivering downstream maintenance cost compared to building the capability? I suppose some people call this technical debt. You know, is it, you know, and I remember talking to one customer and they went, well, does it have a 3-year ROI? And I went, do you want it to? Isn't everything going to change in 3 years' time? So that question in Admiral, you know, how do you ensure that, you know, you're getting value for money? Because it might be for now, for this year, might be a need for it.
We ensure by you know, scoping it out properly, understanding the value that it brings to the business, and reporting on it regularly to understand that it's still the right thing for us in the business, and it's still delivering value. The very often, you know, what we find is the choice is this, and you're right, technical debt, it probably sits somewhere in terms of stuff to be done, but it might not get done. And as a result of that, you're probably, you know, you're not, if you're not getting to something that actually you could and should, then you're holding yourself back to a certain degree in a certain area. You know, what we can do with automation to spin things up, as I said earlier, you know, relatively quickly and cost effectively, you know, and we'll get an ROI as a result of doing that. But it also means that we get stuff done, we're just getting more things done. Now, of course, there's constant review in terms of what we have in that automation stack, what we are, you know, delivering across the, you know, 160 odd unique processes that we've got live at this moment in time. And actually, is automation still that sort of long-term solution for all of those things? And we're constantly sort of checking and reviewing those things. But where the answer to that question is yes, then, you know, we still track the business benefit we get from that. against the, well, if we didn't have an automation solution, what would the answer be? And
Yeah.
we'll probably be sat in a queue somewhere waiting to be done.
Yeah, good point. As we referenced earlier, a big change request backlog that can sit there for a month, if not years. So sometimes taking them off and actually getting on with them is a good thing. There's another nice question on here. The automation you're most proud of, one that you really like. You got one of those?
I'll take that one if you don't mind.
Come on. Yeah.
We since the very early days of automation, it comes back to your last question a little bit, Elaine, around how long something is going to be live. And because RPA is so quick, very often, if a major event happens and there's a possible automation solution, we'll build that. And we came up with a name called disposer code. So it's code that we're not going to be running this forever. We're going to build it, we're going to run it, and then we're going to dispose of it. And February, March last year, when COVID started happening, now I won't go into the details of the process, but our renewals department had particular challenges. Everybody go home, that sort of thing. So we built something, we ran it for a couple of weeks. It was live within a few days of when the request came in. It was just spectacular. And having the ability as part of our department to take major, that was a really major time for everyone, and be able to offer a solution like that was just fantastic, and a testament to everything we built up, so that we were in a position to say, yeah, we can do that. We've got enough, as Rob again mentioned, we've got enough skills and knowledge to get this up, get it run, get you through this 2-3 week period, during which we'll all come out the other end with COVID having gone, obviously, because that's what we were all thinking at that time. I just love that one. Absolutely love it.
I find it hard to pick one. I mean, we have multiple thousands of quotes per day that have been run via an automation solution. 8 out of 10 of our new claim notifications have a robot involved somewhere. Hundreds of thousands of supplier payments per annum. I could go on, but all of these things are only achievable because of a robot. Largely marketing campaigns are only achievable because so all of these things have been delivered off the back of automation. And incredibly proud that we've got ourselves from where we were 5 years ago with the journey that we sort of described at the start, which was, we don't really know what this is, and is it ever going to work for us, and can we actually apply that technology to us in the business to where we are now, and actually how it's such a core part of what we do.
Brilliant. I'm just running through the questions, and if any, if I think we've answered them during the session, I'm ignoring them because there's loads on here. There is one here around citizen-led development and about the governance you've wrapped around it, and maybe some challenges of how you approach that. And I think that comes up very early with most customers going, oh, they're all going to go mad, doing this, we'll have a, shadow IT. So how did you guys approach it?
Well, as I was the person who said everyone's got to go mad, Neil, do you want to take that? Because you'll have to persuade me on this one.
I will. We spoke with a lot of people, to be fair. We spoke with UiPath consultants. We spoke with another couple of firms that had already done this. I was far more excited by this technology than perhaps Rob and other senior managers. But it's purely a balance between giving people the ability to build these automations, giving them the tools to get these benefits for themselves and their areas, but at the same time knowing what they're doing, keeping an eye on it, making sure that we've got certain standards with our code which we don't want to go away from, certain risks in certain areas, so we need to. In some areas, we need their risk people involved and things like that. So it's completely a balance between, finding out everything you can about possibly what might go wrong, thinking about that. It's a worthwhile exercise occasionally. Just think, what is the worst that can happen? How bad could this be? And then working your way back from that and saying, okay, let's stop that, and then reaching a point where you're confident that you can give people the tools
Mm.
that they can use them, they can get the benefits, but you're not leaving them in a position where either they're risking things or
Mm.
they're going to be making decisions which go against what we've tried to achieve over the last 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, what I touch on is if this is about giving the business the tools that they need to be able to do this. So that, as I said, initially gets the sort of creative juices flowing. So that allows the business to start to think about where they can apply that technology, as I said, to sort of business challenges. Then, if you like. But in terms of the governance, we get a senior stakeholder involved, essentially to sponsor and ensure that there's good sign off in terms of a process that obviously always has to exist. Good first and second line controls, so that is continually monitoring and providing oversight in terms of what is being done, and then reporting through the business as well. So we've got oversight of those things. So that's how people, and I remember I flippantly said, everything's going to go mad. I always knew that actually that was the level of governance that we needed to wrap around this. And it sounds very bureaucratic and governance heavy. It's not in reality, but it's just right. But it also means that we've got good oversight, so that people can't go beyond the boundaries that we set, and that scope can't sort of creep over time without people knowing about it. So yeah, we've got the good sort of robust controls in place. But the most important thing, as I said, with that still allows that sort of citizen-led pipeline therefore then to be created. So we've got the balance right.
Mm-hmm. And I think, as you said, it's very important for Admiral to empower your people to learn new skills, to be making decisions. So you're obviously walking the talk there. And also, I suppose for our audience as well, that there is audit trail attached to the automations you're building. And it may be better than you having a lot of EUCs or databases or manky spreadsheets all over the place, because we know they exist in insurance. We know they're all over the place. So maybe this is the alternative to that there is structure, that there is security around it, there is audit trail. And
we do a lot of reviewing. We do that as well. So there's a lot. There is oversight. There's quite a bit of oversight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I think we're coming to the end. Would you like, guys, to finish off with a top tip for people about what you would, what's the essential for somebody on the journey or somebody starting, sort of from both of you? Because you've shared, it's been great listening to 5 years of experience wrapped into, unfortunately, a short period of time.
Go on, you go first.
I'll take the top tip for getting started. And basically what I did was went and spoke to a team that I knew quite well and asked them what they hated doing. What was the piece of work that came in every week, every month, every day or whatever that you all absolutely hate? And they all shouted out in unison what it was. And that was the first robot I built. And because it was me building it, it wasn't a very good robot, but it took away that pain point from them within a week or two. And that was then the flywheel that we could take around the business and show to other people. Because you've got to be able to show what this stuff can do. It's in theory, it sounds great, but it's a lot easier when you say that guy over there doesn't have to do this anymore. He's a happier person because of it. That's a much easier message than however great the UiPath videos are. And I do love them, but that's a better message to give to people internally.
Great. So the buy-in is number one there from you, Neil, getting the buy-in with the biggest problem. Yeah. So Rob, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, sorry. I just, again, to build on that, I probably summarize it in 5 ways. Neil's absolutely right, buy-in, exec sponsorship. So this is for somebody probably at the start of their journey. Get that exec sponsorship. That's really, really important. Understand the potential and be clear in terms of the objectives and be realistic. We were very realistic at the start. We understood that there was a lot of potential here, but we didn't actually necessarily say this is going to change our lives tomorrow. This was an iterative, evolution for us over time that was going to get us to where we are today. Of course, build the right team. That's really, really important. Get people who understand the technology, who can apply it, and certainly can apply it to your business and the processes within your business. Choose the right partner. Really, really important. Do your research. Choose the right, and understand who's out there and who can work with you and develop that strategic partnership. That's what we did very, very early, and the rest is history. And the final bit for me is staff engagement. I'd be lying if I didn't, if I said that actually staff weren't slightly concerned in small pockets 5 years ago that actually their roles are going to radically change, or that robots are going to come in and take their job away from them. And we sort of had to deal with that in small pockets. Very, very quickly, people started to appreciate all the things we've already said today on the webinar, which is, actually, I can coexist here. I'm actually working with this, or this is taking, as Neil's example, this is taking a bit of the job I really hate away from me now, which is allowing me to focus on the bits of the job that I really like. And all of a sudden, that just brought it to life for people. So just ensure that actually, staff are really engaged and are with you on this journey, and you can really properly articulate to them that this is actually going to make you happier. This is going to make you more contented in terms of what you're doing. And as I said, that's going to probably take away the bits of your job that if I was to ask you what you don't like, you would list out for us. So that's really, I think, what the top tips for me would be in terms of somebody at the start of their journey anyway.
Great. Well, thank you for that. It's been a pleasure chatting to both of you. It's gone very, very fast. They always say when you're enjoying something, it goes very fast. So to thank you both, and also for the audience for joining, or whether you've followed up on demand, but thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and looking forward to the next 5 years of relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah, likewise, Elaine. Really enjoyed today. Thank you for having me.
Cheers. Thanks, Elaine.